What are nakshatras in Vedic astrology? Nakshatras are the ancient star divisions of the zodiac, deeply rooted in the astronomical sky and essential to Vedic astrology. Unlike the 12 zodiac signs that are solar in nature and seasonal, nakshatras are lunar divisions based on the moon's daily motion and the visible constellations. There are 27 primary nakshatras, each covering 13 degrees and 20 minutes of the 360-degree zodiac, forming the precise framework for lunar-based predictions. From a star perspective, each nakshatra corresponds to one or more fixed stars or visible star clusters. For instance, Rohini is anchored to Aldebaran, the red eye of Taurus, Bhaga is tied to Regulus, the brightest star in Leo, and Jyeshtha links to Antares, the heart of the Scorpion. These are not symbolic associations. They are actual coordinates in the night sky that the ancients observed and codified into astrological meaning. This sky mapping method makes Vedic astrology one of the most astronomically accurate systems in the world. The moon, being the fastest moving planet in Vedic astrology, spends roughly one day in each nakshatra. This movement gives the nakshatras their emotional flavor. Your moon's nakshatra at birth is called your Janma Nakshatra, and it reveals your emotional nature, instincts, mental tendencies, and karmic imprint. This is why the nakshatra is central to dasha calculations, compatibility, and timing life events. What makes nakshatras so powerful is that each one is more than just a set of degrees. They are celestial fields of meaning. Every nakshatra has a ruling deity, a symbolic animal, a planetary ruler, and a specific psychological function, or Shakti, power. These sky sectors act as energetic portals or karmic windows through which your destiny unfolds. The stars are not just background, they are active forces. Astronomically, the concept of nakshatras predates the 12-sign solar zodiac. Ancient Vedic seers used star risings and lunar conjunctions with fixed stars to determine sacred timings, agricultural cycles, and ceremonial rituals. This means that nakshatras originally evolved from a stellar calendar system, grounded in nature and sky observation, not just philosophy. Modern astronomy confirms the brilliance of this system. The positions of these star clusters still align with the nakshatra system, as Vedic astrology uses a sidereal, fixed star, zodiac, not a moving tropical one. So while Western astrology may say your moon is in Sagittarius, Vedic astrology might place it in Mula Nakshatra, at the galactic center, a powerful point of transformation and destruction. This connection to real stars means nakshatras help us reclaim the original astrology, where celestial bodies weren't abstract energies, but literal cosmic influences. As you watch the sky and track the moon, you're also tracking your mood, your karma, and your spiritual progress. That's the beauty of nakshatra-based astrology. It's emotional, ancient, predictive, and rooted in starlight. So when you look up at the night sky, remember, those constellations are not just stars. They're the living libraries of your soul's journey, encoded in the nakshatras. While Western astrology is based on the tropical zodiac, which aligns the signs with the seasons, Aries begins at the spring equinox, Vedic astrology uses the sidereal zodiac, which aligns the signs with the actual constellations in the sky. This creates a crucial divergence. Over centuries, due to the precession of the equinoxes, the tropical zodiac has drifted away from the fixed stars. In contrast, nakshatras remain firmly tied to the visible sky, preserving the original astronomical alignment. This means that in Western astrology, the focus is more solar, centered on sun sign traits, seasonal cycles, and psychological archetypes. But in Vedic astrology, nakshatras bring a deeper emotional and karmic precision, especially because they're tied to the moon's motion, which governs the mind, instincts, and subtle body. So while the sun represents identity, the moon reveals how we process life emotionally, and this is where nakshatras offer their richest insights. Another major distinction lies in predictive astrology. Western systems often rely on transits and progressions, but Vedic astrology uses the Vimshottari Dasha system, which is completely based on the nakshatra the moon occupied at birth. This Dasha system divides your life into planetary periods, unfolding like chapters in a karmic storybook. The moon's nakshatra determines not just how you feel, but what type of experiences you'll magnetize in certain phases of life. Moreover, each nakshatra has its own symbolism and mythic context, providing a layer of spiritual narrative absent in Western systems. For example, Ashwini is ruled by the twin horsemen, the Ashwini Kumaras, gods of healing and initiation. Bharani is ruled by Yama, the god of death and dharma. These aren't abstract figures. They represent archetypal energies that shape how you meet life's themes, like leadership, destruction, nurturing, or transcendence. Western astrology might tell you that your moon in Sagittarius makes you adventurous or philosophical, but Vedic astrology will ask, is it in Mula Nakshatra, with roots in destruction and transformation? Or in Purva Ashada, linked to Apa, the water goddess, and the power to purify and uplift? These distinctions go beyond personality. They speak to your soul's evolutionary intention. The nakshatras also add granularity to timing, known as muhurta, electional astrology. In Vedic traditions, no major life event, marriage, childbirth, business launch, is initiated without checking the moon's current nakshatra. This is because each nakshatra has a specific energy. Some are good for beginnings, others for endings, travel, warfare, or healing. Western astrology doesn't traditionally offer this kind of minute-by-minute cosmic mapping. Ultimately, the nakshatra system reflects the Vedic approach to life as a spiritual journey shaped by karma and dharma. It doesn't just tell you who you are. It tells you why you are here, what you're working through, and which divine archetype governs your path. In contrast, Western astrology often centers around psychological integration, whereas Vedic astrology, and nakshatras in particular, focuses on spiritual integration and karmic unfolding. In the modern age, as we seek more personalized, precise, and spiritually resonant tools of self-awareness, nakshatras are being rediscovered by students and seekers across the globe. Their power lies in their ability to blend astronomy, mythology, psychology, and karma, all through the lens of stars that have guided humanity for millennia. Nakshatras are not just tools for prediction. They are living blueprints of human nature, mapping everything from your psychological behavior and personality traits to your physical body type, emotional tendencies, and even the karmic lessons your soul has chosen for this lifetime. Each nakshatra acts like a cosmic fingerprint, offering multi-layered insight that goes far beyond what zodiac signs alone can reveal. At the most personal level, your Janma Nakshatra, the nakshatra where the moon was placed at the time of your birth, reflects your mind's conditioning, your emotional temperament, and your default mode of reacting to life. For example, someone born under Ashlasha may display intense emotional intelligence, secrecy, and coiled inner power, much like its serpent symbolism. On the other hand, someone with the moon in Pushya is naturally nurturing, devotional, and service-oriented, with a grounded and structured emotional core. From a body-based perspective, classical Vedic texts and nakshatra lore also describe physical attributes associated with each star segment. For instance, Bharani natives often have well-developed sensuous bodies, strong appetites, and intense magnetic eyes, reflecting their rulership by Venus and deity Yama, who governs life and death. Rohini natives, ruled by the moon and associated with growth and fertility, are typically attractive, charming, and physically well-proportioned, often drawing admiration effortlessly. But where nakshatras go even deeper is in their connection to the soul's evolutionary journey. Each nakshatra has a built-in Shakti, a unique power or capacity. This Shakti reveals what the soul is here to master or express in this incarnation. For example, Chitra Nakshatra has the Shakti to accumulate merit through righteous action, making its natives driven toward creative excellence and ethical leadership. Mula, ruled by Niriti, the goddess of dissolution, has the power to ruin or break apart, not as a curse, but as a soul-level calling to dismantle illusions and seek root truth. That's why nakshatras are often used in soul path readings, especially through D60, Shastyamsa, or Atmakaraka-based analysis, because they provide the mythic and karmic architecture beneath your physical reality. In fact, the ancient seers saw nakshatras as divine gateways, each one a portal between human life and cosmic intelligence. The deity, symbol, and story attached to a nakshatra are not just cultural myths. They are archetypal energies shaping your fate and free will. Nakshatras also inform our relationships and compatibility, not just through moon sign matching, but through deep energetic resonance. For example, the nakshatra-based Kuda system evaluates factors like mental compatibility Gana, emotional bonding Tara, and longevity of the bond Yoni. These aren't symbolic, they're based on how your emotional rhythms, shaped by your moon's nakshatra, flow with another's. A Chitra native might crave independence and intellectual stimulation, while a Revati person may seek softness and emotional depth. Even your vocation, talents, and ideal environment can be extracted from nakshatra analysis. Someone born under Shatabisha, ruled by Rahu and linked with Varuna, is drawn toward medicine, healing, esoteric sciences, and working in solitary or unconventional environments. In contrast, a Magha native thrives in leadership roles tied to ancestry, legacy, and upholding tradition. These soul paths are not random. They are karmically designed via the nakshatra system. So when we say nakshatras reveal human nature, it's not just a surface-level personality sketch. It's an encoded map of your body, mind, soul, and destiny. It integrates physical form, emotional function, psychological structure, and spiritual blueprint, making it one of the most holistic tools in Vedic astrology. In essence, the nakshatras don't just describe who you are. They remind you of why you are here. The basics of Bharani Nakshatra. Bharani Nakshatra is the second lunar mansion in Vedic astrology, occupying the celestial space from 13D20 to 26°40 in Aries. It lies within the Aries constellation and is linked with the relatively faint star, 41 Arietis, along with other lesser visible stars in this region. Unlike Ashwini's bright and fast cosmic spark, Bharani governs a deeper, more internal process: containment, gestation, and the power of transformation through pressure. Its symbol is the yoni, female reproductive organ, emphasizing creation, preservation, and eventual release. A full life, death, rebirth cycle encoded within one nakshatra. Mythological deity. The presiding deity of Bharani is Yama, the god of death, justice, and dharma. Far beyond his fearsome image, Yama serves as a cosmic judge who weighs karma and ensures moral order. His rulership gives Bharani a distinct karmic intensity. Individuals born under this nakshatra often grapple with themes of truth, morality, responsibility, and irreversible change. Yama's energy instills an internal compass that either binds the soul to consequence or liberates it through dharmic awareness. Shakti power. The Shakti of Bharani is Apabharani Shakti, the power to cleanse and remove impurities or bear burdens. This grants the ability to endure, hold, and eventually purge emotional, psychological, or karmic weight. While Ashwini initiates life, Bharani carries it through the tunnel of transformation, making this nakshatra deeply tied to the womb, death, moral testing, and rebirth. It rules midwives, reformers, judges, and emotional warriors, anyone who holds pain long enough to create something redemptive from it. Ruler. The planetary ruler of Bharani is Venus, Shukra, which adds a layer of sensuality, creativity, and enjoyment to its otherwise intense karmic process. Venus here magnifies desire, passion, beauty, and the search for pleasure, often resulting in internal tension between self-indulgence and discipline. Bharani natives can be drawn towards sensuality and pleasure, yet find themselves called to protect, sacrifice, or endure in service of a higher responsibility. This dance between Venus and Yama is what makes Bharani so complex and so powerful. Span and star reference. Span, 1320 to 26°40 Aries. Star reference, 41 Arietis and adjoining stars in Aries. 41 Arietis lies in the midsection of Aries and is less luminous than the Ashwini stars, symbolizing inner processing, gestational force, and karmic tension rather than outward brightness. These stars are not prominent in naked eye astronomy, but are essential in sidereal mapping, marking a sacred pause between life's initiation and its transformation. The four padas of Bharani Nakshatra. Each of the four padas, quarters of Bharani, expresses its energy differently, depending on the Navamsa sign and planetary dispositor. Pada 1, 13°, 16°40 Aries. Navamsa, Leo. Dispositor, Sun. Nature, bold, dramatic, will-powered. These natives exude a strong moral will, often acting as fierce protectors of what they love. They blend Bharani's intensity with leadership and visibility, often in public or creative roles. Pada 2, 60-degree Aries. Navamsa Virgo, Mercury. Nature, detail-oriented, moral, analytical. Here, Bharani expresses through discernment and practicality. These natives may process trauma or duty through mental work, writing, or service, often acting as ethical reformers or advisors. Pada 3, 20 degrees Z, 23 degrees 20 Aries. Navamsa Libra, dispositor, Venus. Nature, harmonizing, artistic, justice-seeking. This is the most socially graceful and diplomatically active section of Bharani. Natives here are often aesthetic, romantic, and reform-oriented, working to make heavy truths palatable and transformative through beauty or law. Pada 4, 23 degrees 20, 26 degrees 40 Aries. Navamsa Scorpio Mars. Nature, intense, transformative, psychological. The final pada plunges into emotional depth, secrecy, and natives tend to hold hidden pain or power and are often drawn to crisis work, psychology, or occult healing. This is Bharani's most cathartic and transformational expression. Bharani Nakshatra represents the womb of karma, the sacred chamber where soul and consequence ferment, and the vessel that holds life's most potent paradoxes, pleasure and pain, indulgence and restraint, birth and death. Those born under this nakshatra often live with an unshakable intensity, carrying within them the seed of transformation that reshapes not just themselves, but others too. Bharani nakshatra characteristics. Bharani natives are intense, passionate, and deeply transformative individuals. Born under the domain of Yama, the god of death and dharma, and ruled by Venus, they carry within them the paradox of beauty and burden. These individuals often feel the weight of responsibility early in life, be it emotional, moral, or familial, and yet they seek pleasure, freedom, and sensual delight with equal force. This inner tension drives them to become powerful creators or reformers, depending on how their energy is channeled. Psychologically, Bharani natives are emotionally complex and frequently oscillate between deep involvement and detachment. They have a magnetic aura that draws others in, often because they emanate a sense of mystery or inner depth. At their best, they are nurturing protectors who carry others' burdens silently. At their worst, they may become controlling, judgmental, or overwhelmed by emotional suppression. Their temperament is often fiery with a soft underlayer, compassionate but uncompromising when it comes to truth or justice. There is a strong moral compass in Bharani-born people, shaped by the influence of Yama. They are often deeply aware of right and wrong, cause and effect, and may feel haunted by guilt, obligation, or karmic memory. As a result, they are drawn to correct injustices, protect the vulnerable, or act as gatekeepers in emotional, legal, or spiritual realms. Many social reformers, truth-tellers, or guardians of ethical codes are found with prominent Bharani placements. Creatively, Bharani individuals are gifted with artistic, sensual, and dramatic expression. Venus blesses them with a taste for beauty, music, dance, ornamentation, or performance. However, their art is rarely shallow. It is often rooted in pain, passion, or purpose. This gives them a unique voice in creative industries, healing professions, and performance-based careers. They often turn their own emotional trials into transformative narratives that inspire others. In relationships, Bharani natives are fiercely loyal, possessive, and intensely emotional. They crave deep bonds, but may wrestle with jealousy, control, or extremes in affection. Sexuality plays a strong role in their identity, and their experiences often carry profound karmic undertones, bringing either transformation or torment. Their partnerships are not light or casual. They are often tests of endurance, growth, and soul-level evolution. Bharani's connection to the womb gives its natives a strong link to life cycles, fertility, and regeneration. This is seen not only in biological motherhood or fatherhood, but also in their ability to carry ideas, movements, or people through metaphorical rebirths. They may be drawn to midwifery, hospice care, psychological counseling, or legal reform, any field that involves escorting others through irreversible transitions. Socially, they may not be the most extroverted or diplomatic, but they command respect through their authenticity and moral gravity. People often turn to Bharani individuals when a decision must be made or when clarity is needed in emotionally charged situations. Their presence alone can bring a sense of containment, stability, or finality. However, they must guard against becoming overly righteous or emotionally heavy for themselves and others. At the soul level, Bharani Nakshatra represents the cosmic pressure of transformation, the force that protects, carries, breaks down, and rebirths. These natives are here to confront life's moral paradoxes and emotional intensities, not to avoid them. Their journey is not easy, but it is deeply meaningful. When balanced, Bharani natives become wise custodians of truth and agents of irreversible healing, carrying the power to transmute pain into purpose. Planets in Bharani Nakshatra. When the sun is placed in Bharani Nakshatra, the native carries a strong internal code of dharma, morality, and responsibility. Influenced by Yama, the god of death and judgment, these individuals often have a deep sense of justice and karmic accountability. They are authoritative and may hold leadership roles that involve managing people's well-being, such as in law, medicine, or governance. However, the Venusian rulership also makes them sensitive to ego clashes, image, and sensual indulgence, which must be balanced with their internal drive for righteous action. The moon in Bharani produces a highly emotionally intense and protective nature. These natives are often deeply bonded to family or maternal themes, and their emotional lives are marked by cycles of transformation, loss, and rebirth. They feel a karmic duty to care, carry, or protect others. Yet this can also lead to emotional exhaustion or codependency if boundaries are unclear. Their nurturing style can oscillate between fierce devotion and silent resentment, making emotional maturity and release vital for their growth. With Mars in Bharani, passion, power, and courage take on a transformative edge. These individuals are intensely driven, with a tendency to throw themselves into emotionally or ethically charged situations. They make powerful activists, crisis responders, or warriors of truth. The combination of Mars and Venus makes them physically magnetic and sexually dynamic, but can also spark aggression, dominance, or jealousy if their inner power is misdirected. Their key lies in learning to fight for what liberates, not what controls. Mercury in Bharani creates precise, morally filtered communication. These individuals speak with weight and clarity and may often feel the need to correct, guide, or call out inconsistencies in others' behavior. They make strong debaters, writers, and advisors, especially in topics involving justice, social ethics, and reform. However, Mercury's neutrality is tested here. When unbalanced, it can lead to sharp-tongued criticism, excessive judgment, or inner doubt, masked by intellectual superiority. Speech becomes healing when aligned with service. Jupiter in Bharani blesses the native with a strong inclination toward ethics, law, philosophy, or spiritual regeneration. These individuals often serve as protectors of sacred knowledge or teachers of transformative wisdom. They may rise to prominence through roles that require them to bridge morality and compassion, such as dharmic leadership, counseling, or education. However, Jupiter's expansive nature can become burdened by Bharani's karmic pressure, creating tension between idealism and real-world consequences. With Venus in Bharani, the energy is doubly amplified. These natives are magnetically sensual, artistically gifted, and emotionally intense. Relationships are all-consuming, often karmic, and deeply transformative. They are lovers who desire not just beauty, but also emotional fusion. However, there may be excess in desire, indulgence, or control in romantic matters. When refined, Venus in Bharani produces artists, performers, counselors, and spiritual lovers who use aesthetic power to heal and elevate others. Saturn in Bharani manifests as a heavy karmic load, often involving family responsibilities, emotional burdens, or long-standing moral dilemmas. These natives mature slowly but steadily through repeated trials, betrayals, or obligations. Saturn disciplines Venusian desire and compels the native to sacrifice short-term pleasures for long-term spiritual gain. Over time, they become deeply respected figures in their communities, guardians of tradition, law, or healing. The key is accepting the transformative power of slow endurance. Rahu in Bharani intensifies the desire for sensual pleasure, fame, or emotional dominance. These individuals may be fascinated by taboos, social justice, or karmic defiance. They often live lives that break conventions around gender, sexuality, death, or ethics. Their path involves testing boundaries, especially in relationships, leadership, or healing roles, until they find the line between indulgence and transformation. Rahu and Bharani can create charismatic disruptors, provocative artists, or karmic revolutionaries. Ketu in Bharani indicates past life mastery of emotional restraint, ethical codes, or sensual detachment. These individuals may feel disconnected from indulgence or pleasure early in life, as if carrying an old karmic wound related to desire or responsibility. However, they also carry deep spiritual gifts related to emotional healing, death transitions, or karmic guidance. Ketu in Bharani is often found in mystics, monks, hospice workers, or reformers, those who transmute pain into peace and lead others through dark tunnels into light. Across all planetary placements, Bharani transforms the planet's natural energy by filtering it through the womb of karma, where death is not an end, but a necessary threshold to rebirth, creativity, and dharmic purification. The basics of Purva Phalguni Nakshatra. Purva Phalguni Nakshatra is the 11th lunar mansion in Vedic astrology, spanning from 13°20 to 26°40 Leo. Its name translates to the former reddish one or the fig tree, and it symbolizes pleasure, rest, beauty, and sensual rejuvenation. The primary symbols of this nakshatra are a hammock, a couch, or a front pair of a bed, indicating relaxation, enjoyment, and intimacy. Purva Phalguni is a nakshatra of creative fertility, relationships, arts, and life celebrations, offering a bridge between self-expression and emotional fulfillment. Mythological deity. The presiding deity of Purva Phalguni is Bhaga, the god of fortune, love, and enjoyment. Bhaga governs the distribution of wealth, pleasure, and marital happiness, linking this nakshatra to themes of abundance, partnership, and emotional indulgence. Under Bhaga's influence, natives of this nakshatra are blessed with magnetism, charm, and the desire to experience beauty and harmony, especially through love, family, and shared joy. Shakti, power. Purva Phalguni holds the Prajna Shakti, the power of procreation or creation. This Shakti governs both physical fertility and creative fertility, allowing natives to give birth to children, ideas, art, or experiences that bring joy and continuation. It fuels the urge to create and connect, blending emotional longing with physical beauty and artistic expression. At its core, this nakshatra supports the manifestation of joy through union, intimacy, and leisure. Ruler. The planetary ruler of Purva Phalguni is Venus, which enhances its qualities of love, sensuality, romance, art, and aesthetics. Venus here operates with Leo's radiance and self-assurance, producing individuals who express love through generosity, glamour, and warmth. This rulership grants a natural gift for creativity, romance, and human connection, but also requires balance, lest indulgence turn into complacency or vanity. Span and star reference. Span, 13°20 to 26°40, Leo, Zosma, Delta Leonis, and Chertan, Theta Leonis, in the Leo constellation. These stars represent the graceful, romantic, and expressive regions of the lion, reflecting Purva Phalguni's themes of enjoyment, charisma, and creative display. The influence of Leo gives this nakshatra a royal flair, making it naturally expressive, affectionate, and socially radiant. The 4 padas of Purva Phalguni Nakshatra. Each pada, quarter of Purva Phalguni, refines how love, creativity, and sensual power are expressed, depending on its Navamsa ruler. Pada 1, 13°20, 16°40, Aries, Mars. Star reference, near Zosma. Nature, passionate, self-assured, romantic with a bold streak. These individuals seek quick emotional gratification and express love through action, conquest, and creative urgency. They are enthusiastic lovers and expressive artists. Pada 2, 60-40 Thought, 20°, Taurus. Venus. Venus. Mid-Leo stars. Luxurious, loyal, sensually refined. This is the most stable and sensual expression of Purva Phalguni. Natives are aesthetic, romantic, and grounded, with a desire for long-term beauty, comfort, and affectionate bonding. Pada 3, 20B, 23D20 Leo, Navamsa, Gemini, Dispositor, Mercury, near Chertan. Nature, playful, flirtatious, talkative. This is the most communicative and sociable section of the nakshatra. Natives here woo with wit, charm, and a vibrant personality. thriving in conversation and artistic expression. Pada 4, 2320 to 2640 Leo. Navamsa, Cancer, Disposed Moon, star reference, tail end stars of Leo. Nature, emotionally romantic, nostalgic, and protective. This pada deepens Purva Phalguni's emotional vulnerability. These individuals are nurturing, family-oriented, and emotionally generous, expressing love through care, protection, and heartfelt creativity. Purva Phalguni Nakshatra represents the sacred joy of living, the celebration of connection, and the creative impulse that flows through union and beauty. Natives of this nakshatra are here to soften the world with affection, art, and emotional warmth, and to remind us that pleasure, when conscious and shared, is not indulgence, but a gift of divine continuity. Their karmic journey is to balance romance with responsibility, to create without attachment, and to embody the radiance of love expressed through soul and form alike. Purva Phalguni Nakshatra characteristics. Purva Phalguni natives are romantic, charismatic, and sensually expressive individuals who embody the energy of pleasure, connection, and creative fulfillment. Ruled by Venus and presided over by Bhaga, the deity of prosperity and marital joy, these individuals are naturally drawn to love, beauty, comfort, and artistic expression. They thrive in environments where they can express themselves freely, receive appreciation, and indulge in the softer, sweeter side of life. There is a natural magnetism about them, a mix of grace, warmth, and playfulness that makes them effortlessly captivating. Psychologically, they are emotionally generous, affectionate, and people-oriented, but they can also be sensitive to rejection or criticism, especially if it threatens their sense of self-worth. They are highly aware of how they are perceived and are often driven by a desire to feel loved, admired, and aesthetically pleasing. Their minds are attuned to the beauty in people and the world, and they often bring a joyful, celebratory spirit to every interaction. However, if they feel emotionally neglected or unappreciated, they may withdraw or seek validation through external pleasures. In relationships, Purva Phalguni natives are romantic idealists. They believe in love as a sacred experience, and they approach it with sincerity, charm, and passion. They seek partners who can match their emotional warmth, sense of fun, and artistic flair. They are generous in love, loyal, expressive, and affectionate, but may become emotionally dependent or indulgent if they lack grounding. Their karmic lesson in love often involves balancing pleasure with emotional maturity and learning to love with depth, not just delight. Creatively, they are natural artists, performers, and aesthetic visionaries. Whether it's through fashion, music, dance, poetry, or visual arts, they are drawn to forms of expression that allow them to channel emotional richness into something beautiful and impactful. They have a keen eye for design, often exuding elegance and theatricality. Their creativity is not only for display, it is their language of love and connection, a way to bring joy to others and express their own inner world. Socially, Purva Phalguni individuals are charming, sociable, and adored for their presence. They love being surrounded by good company, music, art, and celebration, and are often the ones who bring people together through warmth and festivity. They value relationships, community, and shared joy, and often take on roles of hosts, cultural ambassadors, or event curators. Their social strengths lie in their ability to lift others' spirits and make people feel seen and cherished. Emotionally, they crave emotional softness, sensual connection, and the space to express their feelings without judgment. They are rarely confrontational and prefer harmony over discord, but they must learn to assert themselves when boundaries are crossed. If their emotional needs go unmet, they may retreat into pleasure-seeking or emotional fantasy, which can become escapist. Their growth comes through learning to balance emotional vulnerability with strength, and to use their charm in service of genuine connection, not avoidance. Spiritually, these natives are often drawn to devotional paths that honor love, beauty, and sacred union, whether through bhakti yoga, creative rituals, or tantric practices. They are deeply connected to divine feminine energy and may experience spiritual awakening through partnership, sensuality, or artistic surrender. They are here to embody sacred joy, reminding the world that love, when conscious, is not indulgence, it is liberation. At a soul level, Purva Phalguni Nakshatra represents the divine dance of love, beauty, and creation. These individuals are here to celebrate life, elevate love, and express the joy of soul-to-soul connection. Their karmic journey involves transforming pleasure into purpose and learning that true fulfillment lies not in what they receive, but in the beauty, love, and harmony they create and give freely to the world. Planets in Purva Phalguni Nakshatra. When the sun is in Phalguni, it brings a radiant, charismatic personality that shines through charm, creativity, and a love for admiration. These individuals often have natural leadership skills, not from authority alone, but from their ability to attract and inspire. The sun here thrives in artistic or performance-driven roles, and there's a deep desire to be seen, celebrated, or adored. If balanced, the sun in Purva Phalguni becomes a benevolent leader or cultural icon. If imbalanced, it can lead to vanity, self-indulgence, or emotional entitlement. The moon in Purva Phalguni enhances emotional warmth, sensuality, and a strong desire for companionship. These individuals are affectionate, romantic, and drawn to comfort, pleasure, and beauty. Their emotional security is closely tied to how loved or admired they feel. Moon here makes one emotionally expressive and relationship-oriented, but also prone to emotional dependency or dramatic displays if neglected. When mature, it produces nurturing artists, performers, or relationship healers. With Mars in Purva Phalguni, the native becomes passion-driven, seductive, and highly charismatic. Mars brings a strong sexual energy and creative fire, giving individuals the drive to pursue pleasure, art, or conquest. They can be confident lovers and ambitious performers, though at times their energy may become overly indulgent or emotionally impulsive. When balanced, Mars here produces dynamic romantic leaders, athletes with flair, or artists with bold style. Mercury in Purva Phalguni creates smooth, persuasive communicators with a flair for storytelling, flirtation, and creative dialogue. These individuals are eloquent, playful, and mentally agile, often excelling in writing, media, marketing, music, or poetry. Their speech is charming, and they often possess a lighthearted wit. If afflicted, this placement can result in gossip, flirtatious manipulation, or vanity in conversation. When elevated, Mercury here becomes a voice of beauty, harmony, and relational wisdom. Jupiter in Purva Phalguni brings a sense of generosity, idealism, and devotion to love and aesthetics. These individuals may be drawn to philosophies of love, sacred art, beauty, and creative expansion. They are often teachers of joy, relationships, or the spiritual power of pleasure. Jupiter here expands the desire for romantic fulfillment and artistic luxury. While they may at times overindulge or idealize beauty, they have the potential to become wise mentors in the realm of love, values, or sacred union. Venus in Purva Phalguni is a placement of exquisite charm, sensual magnetism, and romantic artistry. These natives are deeply attuned to aesthetics, touch, affection, and relational harmony. Venus here desires not just love, but elevated, almost divine connection through romance, art, music, or beauty. Their life may center around pleasure, creativity, and partnerships, but they must learn not to lose themselves in emotional indulgence or superficial love. At its best, this is the goddess, god of love archetype in human form. Saturn in Purva Phalguni creates a complex contrast between desire and discipline. These individuals may feel restrained in love or emotionally repressed early in life, developing maturity through delayed gratification in relationships. They often crave deep romantic fulfillment, but may struggle with guilt, karmic patterns, or fear of vulnerability. Over time, Saturn in Purva Phalguni teaches them that pleasure is most fulfilling when rooted in loyalty, commitment, and spiritual values. It can produce wise counselors, relationship teachers, or guardians of sacred beauty. Rahu in Purva Phalguni amplifies the hunger for pleasure, fame, sensuality, and romantic experiences. These individuals may be drawn to celebrity life, artistic success, or glamorous relationships. Rahu's shadow can manifest as overindulgence, hedonism, or escapism, but if spiritually directed, it produces innovators in beauty, romance, and culture. Rahu in this nakshatra often creates magnetic, trend-setting personalities who redefine love and art through modern or taboo-breaking expressions. Ketu in Purva Phalguni reflects past life experiences involving luxury, love, or artistic indulgence. These individuals may feel a strange detachment from romance or sensuality, despite being surrounded by beauty. They may have once been artists, lovers, or kings, queens, now seeking a more inward, spiritual expression of joy. Ketu here can produce mystics who use art, poetry, or relationship as a tool for self-realization, though they must guard against emotional aloofness or disconnection from the pleasures of life. Across all planetary placements, Purva Phalguni refines each planet through the lens of creative pleasure, emotional expression, and soulful enjoyment. The task for planets here is not to deny beauty or love, but to transform them into pathways of joy, connection, and spiritual artistry. This nakshatra teaches that pleasure, when offered with awareness, becomes devotion, and that true love begins with the sacred act of celebration. The basics of Purva Ashada Nakshatra. Purva Ashada Nakshatra is the 20th lunar mansion in Vedic astrology, spanning from 13 degrees 20 to 2640 Sagittarius. The name Purva Ashada means the former victorious one or early invincible, and it is symbolized by a winnowing basket, which separates the grain from the husk, representing discernment, purification, and triumph through clarity. This nakshatra is associated with invincibility, idealism, and the pursuit of spiritual and moral victories. Purva Ashada is where the fire of truth begins to rise with purpose, following the root-clearing intensity of Mula. The ruling deity of Purva Ashada is Apa, the goddess of water. Apa governs fluidity, nourishment, emotional wisdom, and inner purification. Under her influence, Purva Ashada natives are capable of emotional resilience, adaptability, and healing insight. Like rivers carving through stone, they carry the ability to transform landscapes over time, making this nakshatra one of subtle but unstoppable influence. Apa also reflects emotional intelligence and the ability to cleanse impurities, whether in the psyche or one's surroundings. The Shakti of Purva Ashada is Varchograna Shakti, the power to gain spiritual insight and invincible strength. This gives Purva Ashada a regal quality. It seeks glory, reputation, and moral certainty, but ideally in service of truth, dharma, or divine principle. This nakshatra imbues natives with a sense of inner purpose, idealism, and desire to rise above conflict or corruption. It is also associated with learning to channel pride into purpose and ego into devotion. The planetary ruler of Purva Ashada is Venus, bringing themes of refinement, harmony, beauty, and moral conviction into its otherwise fiery Sagittarian domain. Venus here doesn't operate in superficial aesthetics. It becomes a force of spiritual elegance, righteous speech, and persuasive guidance. Natives are often eloquent, ethical, and idealistic, striving to live by higher values and to help others do the same, especially through teaching, healing, or principled leadership. Occupying the middle portion of Sagittarius, Purva Ashada combines Jupiterian wisdom with Venusian grace. It represents the expanding soul just after karmic purification, one that seeks not just knowledge, but wisdom applied in noble, victorious ways. Unlike Mula's raw destruction, Purva Ashada wants to build, inspire, and uplift, using clarity and discernment to separate truth from falsehood and guide others through transformational waters. Purva Ashada natives are often idealists, educators, or spiritual warriors whose lives revolve around conviction, cause, and emotional renewal. They may seem gentle or poetic on the surface, but they possess immense inner resilience and a fierce desire to stand for what they believe is right. Their strength is not in brute confrontation, but in rising, refining, and flowing around obstacles, much like water does, graceful but impossible to stop. The challenges of Purva Ashada include stubborn idealism, overconfidence, or pride in spiritual or moral superiority. They may initially seek validation or victory through external means, but life will often guide them back to their inner compass, humility, and deeper wisdom. As they evolve, they become healers, moral protectors, and torchbearers for spiritual truth, committed to truth without ego and vision without vanity. At a soul level, Purva Ashada Nakshatra represents the victorious flow of consciousness after purification, where the seeker becomes the teacher, and the wound becomes the wisdom. These individuals are here to lead others with clarity, to inspire through inner beauty, and to cleanse the world through righteous speech and luminous example. Their karmic mission is to win not through force, but through grace, and to embody the truth that the softest waters wear down the hardest stones because they never stop flowing. Purva Ashada Nakshatra characteristics. Purva Ashada Nakshatra natives are idealistic, persuasive, and spiritually motivated individuals who are driven by a desire to rise, purify, and inspire. Governed by Venus and presided over by Appa, the goddess of cosmic waters, these individuals carry a subtle but powerful energy of inner clarity and victorious progression. Their presence is often uplifting and morally charged, as they seek to live according to higher truths, universal principles, and personal convictions. Whether as teachers, healers, or quiet exemplars, they carry the aura of those destined to lead with grace. Psychologically, they are philosophical, emotionally intelligent, and highly resilient. Like the flowing force of water, their minds are capable of soothing, adapting, and overcoming, but they are not without internal turbulence. Their belief systems often go through refinement through experience, and they may begin life with a strong sense of moral or spiritual idealism, only to have it tested by emotional betrayal, disillusionment, or deep introspection. Through this, they develop a compassionate wisdom that allows them to guide others with both authority and humility. In relationships, Purva Ashada natives are affectionate, graceful, and deeply loyal, especially when their ideals are reflected in their partners. They seek emotional resonance and ethical alignment, not just passion or appearance. There is often a romanticized quality to their love, shaped by poetic expression, spiritual symbolism, or shared belief systems. However, they must be cautious not to become morally self-righteous or emotionally idealistic, expecting too much perfection from others. Their growth lies in learning that love matures through acceptance, not idealization. Creatively, these individuals shine in fields that require communication, emotional insight, and an uplifting aesthetic, such as spiritual teaching, writing, healing, design, or advocacy. They may be drawn to art that conveys a moral message, or professions that involve reconciling justice with compassion. Their talents are not raw or forceful like Mula. They are refined, intentional, and symbolic, designed to elevate the mind and soothe the soul. They often use their words or artistic touch to restore beauty, order, and dignity. Socially, Purva Ashada natives tend to be graceful, diplomatic, and respected for their principles. They are naturally persuasive, not through domination, but through calm conviction and inspirational presence. Others often look to them during times of emotional confusion or moral conflict, sensing their ability to see clearly, speak fairly, and act nobly. While not aggressive networkers, they tend to attract a circle of admirers, students, or seekers, drawn to their moral clarity and luminous energy. Emotionally, they are strong yet soft, possessing the ability to endure emotional storms while offering healing to others. Their emotional path is deeply linked to their spiritual evolution, and they often feel compelled to cleanse emotional wounds, their own and others, through service, ritual, or prayer. They may feel called to emotionally purify situations, which can sometimes become controlling if not rooted in humility. At their best, they become channels for emotional grace, forgiveness, and wise compassion. Challenges for Purva Ashada include pride, rigid idealism, or emotional denial. In their pursuit of what is noble, they may dismiss vulnerability or avoid emotional complexity. They must learn that victory is not in being right, but in being real, and that purity of heart is measured not by perfection, but by the ability to rise after having fallen. When they embrace this, they become powerful examples of spiritual leadership with a human heart. At a soul level, Purva Ashada Nakshatra represents the cleansing wave of righteous truth flowing through human experience. These individuals are here to lead by embodying clarity, integrity, and quiet power. Their karmic journey is one of emotional purification, principled leadership, and graceful victory, reminding the world that the gentle yet determined spirit, like flowing water, can dissolve even the hardest resistance and bring life wherever it touches. Planets in Purva Ashada Nakshatra. When the sun is in Purva Ashada, it gives rise to individuals who radiate moral authority, inner clarity, and a dignified presence. Their sense of identity is deeply tied to living truthfully and inspiring others, often through a path of wisdom, philosophy, or righteous leadership. These natives often carry a quiet but persuasive charisma, aiming to uplift others through example rather than domination. If unbalanced, the sun here may manifest as self-righteousness or ego bound to moral superiority. When evolved, it produces graceful leaders who light the way with integrity and humility. With the moon in Purva Ashada, emotional life becomes idealistic, gentle, and spiritually aligned, yet carries a deep undercurrent of quiet strength. These individuals are often emotionally resilient yet poetic, blending empathy with principle. They may nurture through uplifting others, offering emotional wisdom, or providing moral support, though they may struggle with disappointment if others don't meet their emotional ideals. When balanced, Moon in Purva Ashada creates emotionally noble souls who lead with both compassion and discernment. Mars in Purva Ashada channels passion into principled action and ethical victory. These natives are driven not just to win, but to win with meaning, often fighting for causes, justice, or truth. Mars here is noble, focused, and courageous, especially in roles that involve advocacy, defense, or high-stakes leadership. However, if afflicted, this placement can bring hidden pride, righteousness that turns dogmatic or passive-aggressive assertion. In its higher expression, Mars in Purva Ashada becomes the spiritual warrior, fierce in battle, graceful in victory. Mercury in Purva Ashada brings an eloquent voice, a diplomatic mind, and the ability to teach or persuade through higher ideals. These individuals are articulate, principled communicators and often feel called to write, teach, or advocate. They think in big-picture themes, balancing logic with emotional intelligence. At times, this Mercury placement may become too idealistic or preachy, especially if not grounded in lived experience. When integrated, it produces orators, counselors, and wise communicators of dharmic truths. Jupiter in Purva Ashada is highly auspicious, as both the planet and the Nakshatra reside in Sagittarius, the sign of higher wisdom, expansion, and dharma. This placement creates natural teachers, philosophers, or moral guides, often devoted to uplifting humanity through education, spiritual practices, or social reform. These individuals are generous and optimistic, but may sometimes struggle with blind faith, pride in their beliefs, or the tendency to preach. At its peak, Jupiter in this nakshatra gives rise to inspiring visionaries who embody truth, grace, and wisdom. Venus in Purva Ashada is idealistic, romantic, and drawn to relationships that offer both emotional beauty and spiritual depth. These individuals seek partners who reflect their values and inspire their growth. Love for them is not casual. It is a path of refinement and inner truth. Venus here may create idealization in romance or disappointment when perfection is not found, but when matured, it manifests as loyal, graceful, and emotionally fulfilling relationships. They are also drawn to art, music, and culture that speak to the soul's highest ideals. Saturn in Purva Ashada brings a slow but steady rise toward moral authority and emotional wisdom. These individuals may be tested early in life through emotional loss, rejection, or responsibility, learning to refine their ideals through discipline and humility. Saturn here supports spiritual leadership, ethical mentorship, and principled service, though it may initially bring rigid beliefs or emotional aloofness. When evolved, it produces spiritually mature individuals who embody inner truth and serve as role models through lived values. With Rahu in Purva Ashada, there's an intense desire to gain recognition through principled achievement or spiritual ambition. These natives may be drawn to charismatic roles, spiritual leadership, or transformative public influence, sometimes struggling with ego-driven idealism or pride in moral image. Rahu here tests the soul's commitment to true values versus external validation. When balanced, it can produce compelling leaders, spiritual influencers, and progressive thinkers who shape culture with clarity and compassion. Ketu in Purva Ashada suggests past life mastery of spiritual devotion, moral conduct, or philosophical knowledge, now seeking to detach from external ideals and rest in inner emotional truth. These individuals may feel disillusioned by conventional belief systems or empty spiritual rhetoric, often retreating into solitude, inner study, or devotional simplicity. Ketu here creates quiet seekers who often serve others without need for recognition, and in their highest state, become hidden saints, wise advisors, or humble embodiments of victorious truth. Planets in Purva Ashada Nakshatra must express themselves through grace, resilience, and spiritually aligned determination. This is a nakshatra of rising through clarity, winning through purification, and leading through inspired service. Whether through teaching, healing, or quietly embodying truth, Purva Ashada reminds us that the most lasting victories come not through domination, but through flowing alignment with dharma, beauty, and soul-centered integrity.